He's a he's got guns and he's got coated in VHS tapes. I would have went in a hazmat suit.
Well, it's not your game. You didn't make the rules, so everything comes hard. As long as you're signed to a contract, you're going to take a minority share of the winnings. A select few of us will do well. The majority will.
About that. You got a Diddy victim, you got a Jay-Z victim, and you got a superstar gone. They know what happened. And yet, they had to sit there and have that conversation like they didn't know who did it. Think of the power of that moment.
No, you haven't always loved the internet. How are you seeing progress right now with all of that? Can you use it to your advantage?
It's a double-edged.
The music world is in shock after Jaguar Wright dropped bombshell details about why the legendary Prince had a strong dislike for Jay-Z and Diddy, two figures known for their creativity and independence. Prince was never shy about criticizing what he saw as exploitation in the music industry, and now Jaguar claims Prince has proof to back up his negative views. Initially, Prince and Jay-Z seemed to have a solid friendship, united by their shared passion for music and innovation. Their bond began when Jay-Z launched Tidal, his streaming service, and Prince, always ahead of the curve, was one of the first major artists to feature his music on the platform, supporting the idea that artists should control their own work. However, things took a turn when rumors began to circulate about Jay-Z using Tidal in ways that raised suspicions, including allegations of money.
Jay-Z made waves in the music industry with the launch of Tidal, a subscription-based streaming service owned by artists. The details of the Tidal story are very interesting because it's pretty much a story of Jay-Z flipping a company. Jay-Z initially bought Tidal, which was then called Aspirio, in 2015 for $56 million. The company suffered financial losses in multiple quarters and even needed a $50 million loan from Jay-Z to keep operating. Despite all these challenges, Jay-Z was able to sell 86% of Tidal to Jack Dorsey, head of Block Inc. and former Twitter CEO, for $237 million. Many saw this move by Jack Dorsey as a horrible business move and even suggested he only did it because of his close relationship with Jay-Z. One NYU business professor even called the purchase a $300 million bar tab to hang out with Jay-Z. Either way, Jay walked away from this business venture with a good chunk of change. Remember, it pays to have relationships, and don't.
I feel like the 444 album is like this breakthrough into freedom for you personally, and really for all of us. Nobody cared more about freedom that I know than Prince. And you give a shout out to Prince on the album, which really touched me. A lot of people don't know that you were his business partner. You were the last person he wanted to do business with. After he beat the music industry, he wanted to be with you. Tell us about the significance of that relationship between Prince Rogers Nelson and Sean Jay-Z Carter for you.
Really deep for me. It really was, because, you know, just to watch this guy and how brave he was. This man put slave on his face at a time where we all were like, man, Prince is weird. And then to come to find out, oh, he was fighting for his masters the whole time. He was fighting for his freedom the whole time. And for him to come, he came to me. I didn't even have the nerve to call him and say, like, he came to me and said, I know what you're doing. I'm going to give you all of my work. Like a person who's fought for their work their whole entire life to come to your office and say, I know what you're doing here. It was a really deep thing for me.
You just explained how you feel about him. I want to tell you how he felt about you, because you know I work with him very closely too. And he saw you as being the one who had finally beaten the system that had beat down black entertainers for, you know, a century. Mm-hmm. And you know, for him, you know, he loved Egypt, and he talked about Egypt and when Africans were builders and owners and stuff. And he saw you in that line of a black builder and owner. And he wanted to make sure that, you know, you knew that he had your back. And, you know, for me to see a brother, he didn't just, he had love for everybody. He didn't have respect for everybody. He had respect for you, bro.
You know, you have to really think about why that is. Why does Tidal take so much criticism But it's the same thing that Spotify does. It costs the same much as, oh, it's too expensive. It costs the same much as Spotify. Oh, it's this. It's the same as Apple Music. All this. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why is that?
You think it's personal?
To me?
Yeah.
No, I don't think anything's personal. I don't take anything as personal. It could be a lot of things. It could be, you know, I don't know. It could be like self-hate. We have that thing. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody that's like you doing, like your own people doing. I've seen that happen. Like LeVar Ball. I like to talk about other people, so it's not a personal thing with me. LeVar Ball, he said, I'm gonna start my own company. Everybody's like, you should sign to Nike.
Yeah.
Now he may go about things wrong. He may have a big mouth.
Everything he
may rub everything, but I bought 3 pair. Why did I buy 3? Well, I didn't get them. I didn't get them. You know what I'm saying? But that man has a vision of his own. Why wouldn't I support him?
Right.
Why wouldn't I support him? He feels like he can move culture, and his son got a big enough name and a big enough brand that they can do it.
Right.
Nike had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Why do we get so upset when us as a culture want to start our own? That is puzzling to me. Like I sit back and I'm like, this makes no sense. Like, why can't he start a sneaker? Oh, you dumb, sneakers are terrible. Well, there wasn't any more terrible than. And I don't want to remember.
right.
I know I'm not being negative for anyone. I've seen some bad sneakers from Under Armour. I've seen some bad sneakers from. I've seen bad Michael Jordan sneakers. Horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Jordan obviously is the greatest at making.
Right.
At some point, he was selling for Nike, and at some point, he broke away and he started building the Jordan brand. I'm sure that was difficult, and I'm sure people at that time when he was building the Jordan brand was like, "You playing yourself? You gonna leave Nike, man?" All due respect, fuck Nike, man, and I don't mean like personal. I mean
Right.
fuck the thing. Like everyone has this reverence towards these things, like. You know, I'm sure when we walked in, we started Rock Nation, and everyone looked and said Universal or Def Jam, and like we built a brand. You know what I'm saying? Like it can't happen. We are culture. Nothing moves without us. We just continue to give it away, and it's cool. Everyone can participate. Nike still works with joy.
Right.
It's just the nature of our relationship has to change.
We have
It has
to like
change.
we can be empowered.
That's what I'm saying. Our nature, and that's all this album is.
The fallout from these allegations was massive, prompting Prince to remove much of his music from all streaming platforms in protest against what he saw as corruption in the music business. For Prince, it wasn't just a personal dispute, it marked the beginning of his fight against the industry's darker side. In interviews, he openly discussed the strange and exploitative practices that had been hidden for years, revealing how artists were taken advantage of, their work stolen, and their legacies tarnished by powerful figures driven only by money. He subtly pointed the finger at Jay-Z in his critique.
You haven't always loved the internet. How are you seeing progress right now with all of that? Can you use it to your advantage?
It's a double-edged sword, you know. A lot of artists aren't getting paid full scale for their art, and the internet, because of downloading things like that, is kind of like a black hole, and it's hard to audit, it's hard to get accounting, and it's not that it's just about the money, but it's about justice and fairness. And when people say that they love you and they respect you, but at the same time take, 80% of your earnings, then expect you to fix your own communities, and they'll probably edit all of this out, but then it gets, that's the sharp part of the sword, and we're at the wrong end of it right now. So eventually, with courageous people going out there and actually saying something and standing up for it, I think we'll get something.
What was it that you were listening to in music today that made you say, I've got to put some more stuff out there? You have to do this.
Mainly I sensed a great deal of negativity and entropy in the music. There's a disintegration going on that we really have to address. Our values have been lessened to a great degree. VH1's been pretty cool. They don't show too much craziness on their channel, but other Viacom channels do. So I think that we should address this as a community as to what it's doing to the culture. People can say all they want to, that there's no reason for these kids to listen to music and then go shoot somebody. But, there's something that's triggering these buttons.
Do you feel responsible as an artist
Very
for
much so.
what you're putting? Do you think that other people do?
No, I don't.
You talk about music that's going out there right now. Are you talking about any particular type of music that you don't think is such a positive influence?
Well, it's very obvious when you hear words and lyrics, whether they enlighten or discourage.
Okay, so hip hop gets slammed a lot. Marilyn Manson gets slammed. Korn gets slammed. A lot of those acts that are, out there putting is that what we're talking about?
It's not what I'm talking about.
No?
I'm just talking about the truth.
Just general?
Yeah. The truth is that you either are here to enlighten or discourage.
Do you feel like you obviously, you've grown a lot and you've changed since 1982 and the 80s when you were putting out music, but you were always thought of as somebody who was putting out extremely music.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a problem to you, or are you talking more about the profanity?
Yeah. It's not that
No.
you're talking about. It's very spiritual in nature, and that's a God-given gift too. I'm talking about just plain disintegration, where you're not even speaking the truth anymore. And the violent imagery that's permeated society and our music now. And sampling is getting to the point where it's out of hand too. You pretty soon will be sampling the sample that was already sampled.
Somebody was joking, saying Mariah Carey had sampled herself on the latest album. How do you measure your success?
By how, who was the rapper? Masterpiece said, "Only God can judge me." There it is. Only God can judge me.
All right.
It's your game, you didn't make the rules, so everything comes hard. As long as you're signed to a contract, you're going to take a minority share of the winnings. A select few of us will do well, the majority will not. So as a people, we'll be considered a minority. But stop. Let's take a moment and look at yourselves. There's nothing minor about you. You are a blessed people. You're the most talented on earth, and you are still grateful. That is why upon winning in their game, you always thank God. Tonight I would like to ask one favor of you. Imagine what we'll all be like in our own game. Peace, love.
But things take an even darker turn here. What many didn't know is that Diddy and Prince were once close friends. Some of the infamous parties Diddy was known for, celebrated for their wild excess, were actually hosted at Prince's home. However, as they say, the truth always comes to light.
Such a big deal back then is ever since my third album, I wasn't really taking large advances from the recording companies. I was recording the albums myself in my own studio. So the way I looked at it, I owned the work because I paid for it. And I did all the work. I created it, so I felt like it should belong to me. That said, the companies felt otherwise. And they would always hold this contract up and say, well, you signed it. And I say, well, I understand that. It's not like I want to leave. I just want to, talk about this thing and see if we can't make it more fair. Of course, they wouldn't change, because if they changed, they wouldn't really exist. And that's kind of the situation.
Again, I don't know how he grew up, but like I said before, you be so excited to get this money you never seen before, money you thought you would never see, and all you got to do is sign your name and it's yours. But a lot of people don't really read the fine prints. They kind of just and then they sign, like, give me my money. Next thing you know, this contract you in, you can't get out of, and it's all these, things that you didn't know was going to be in there. Yeah, and then guess what? You don't own the rights to your music. Yeah.
We're in right today, they're not going to exist much longer. It's not like we're against them or anything like that. The idea is that we find better ways of working with one another. It shouldn't be a situation where they own the album or the work. We're talking about intellectual copyright. If they're going to be indeed a delivery service, then that's fine. But even FedEx doesn't say that they own the thing that they ship.
Two, Prince actually lent his house to Diddy for his parties, but he never attended the parties himself because allegedly Prince had his suspicions about what Diddy was doing with the freak-offs.
Yeah, the first Diddy party I went to was at...
Wait. What? In Prince's house? Oh, no. Well, I mean, you know, rest in peace to Prince. Oh, man. This is Jason Lee talking right here.
He never attended the parties himself because allegedly Prince had his suspicions about what Diddy was doing with the freak-offs.
Yeah, the first Diddy party I went to was at Prince's house. So you want to go to Prince's house to the Diddy party where Tyrese is performing and Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher are swinging on swings. That is what's happening on the other side of the wall. And so the one thing that makes this party different than a Jamie Foxx party or any other celebrity party that wrangles a bunch of young women or guys or whatever too, is that Diddy didn't let you bring your security in the party.
Number 3, Prince's estate was also involved in a lawsuit with Jay-Z, who happened to be very tight with Diddy before his